Welcome back to the Code Yellow podcast, where we're talking about relationships from the lens of scripture and good old common sense. And we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so please subscribe, like, and follow, share if you'd like what we bring. Zob, what you got for us?
All right, dun. The icebreaker for today is if you can have a famous person to be a part of your family, your auntie, your cousin, your dad, whatever, who would it be?
Ladies first.
It would be Keke Palmer for me because
Why?
I feel like she fits in so personality-wise with like my other cousins and family. She would fit in so well, and then as a friend, I feel like she'd be the cousin that I was closest to because, like, similarly, she's more extroverted than me, but our personalities are like they go well together.
That's good. That's good. Jazz, who you got?
Y'all gonna have to come back to me.
All right, Devin.
So I got two. One, Steve Jobs, because we'd be so set. Dog. Like, so
Right?
set.
Help me out, family.
No, but I would pick Kirk Franklin as like
nice.
an uncle. He'd be
for
the life
sure.
of every
Uncle
single
Kirk?
party. Yeah, Uncle Kirk.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna do Michelle Obama. Like she's just so dope. Like if she was my auntie, I'd be like, yo, let's roll out.
Yeah.
You know me. I like the finer things in life. So can we ride in the Secret Service? Uber Black. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and she's just so dope and brilliant and beautiful and
for
fly. So yeah, that's what I would choose.
Well, we are in the same family, so that would be my family member.
Hey, I like that.
Hey. Yeah. So let's jump in.
Yeah.
Today we are on part 6 of 7 Deadly Sins talk, and today we are covering envy. Envy, the real dangerous sin that kind of seeps into your bones and like
The
ruins
second
your day.
sin.
Yeah.
That's the second with Cain and Abel.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
great point.
Yeah.
Let's dive right in.
Yeah.
But wait, before we get started, is envy the same thing as jealousy?
No.
I'd say no.
No.
It might be a matter. It's like in one. If one way you can look at it, it's kind of like just kind of semantics at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
that's what I was about to say.
But let's pull up some definitions. Do you guys have it?
Yeah, so actually from my research, what I was able to find, because I was looking at that, I'm wondering, like, what is the difference? People use it so interchangeably because they are so closely related. The main difference is like envy is like discontentment. The Lord tells us not to covet others' wives or their home. It talks about that in Exodus. And so basically you covet other people's advantages, possession, success. Whereas jealousy, you can almost say it's linked to envy because in the end, being envious of their whatever it is, you also feel that you have a right to that. Like you should have it. So not just like, oh, well, like I'm envious of that car. It should also like, I should have it. I should have that. So that would more so be jealousy.
But I mean, I think we went to church not too long ago, us three. And you weren't there, and the pastor was talking about God saying like, "Oh, I'm a jealous God," so it's okay to kind of like be jealous. And to your definition, it kind of makes sense. Like God created us; He has the right to be jealous. If
Right.
someone else try to, you want to pray to ancestors, you want to pray to stones and whatnot. Like I can see that. And then if you put it in the relationship sense, your spouse, you should totally be jealous if your spouse is giving somebody else attention that you feel like you rightly deserve, someone that you made a covenant with. So not to separate from envy and jealousy, but that just came to me.
Yeah. No, that's a great angle to think about this from, because it's impossible to dodge the fact that God said He's a jealous God. It's
Right.
impossible to dodge that, point blank, right? So obviously there is a beneficial side to what we call jealousy, like a godly side, but that's not always the one that we're battling with. People don't battle with godly jealousy so much as when it becomes less godly, and now we got other things going on.
Like snapped.
So why do you think in Exodus it tells us not to envy, those list of things that it tells us not to envy?
So
It says your neighbor's wife, their house, and a few other things.
Because I think that God is wanting us. He has a spread of people in all walks of life, right? If God has put us in a certain lane, let's say, not to say that like everybody's stuck to the same financial situation or whatever, but if you're focused on being discontent with everything God has given you, like you can't even focus on the good things that God is going to do through you, can you? Right? And it just kind of ruins your life, because if you're always thinking, oh, this person has that, I want it, or not just that I want it, but I want to have it and I want them to not have it. Like how much more useful will that energy be pointed towards something more wholesome?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So I do have some Bible verses to hit. So we have Proverbs 14 verse 30. A tranquil heart gives life to the flesh, but envy makes the bones rot. Yeah. So it's like envy just dives right into your inner core, right? And it's like when you feel the desire for what somebody else has to the point where it's like literally like painful, you can't live a good life,
Right.
can you? It's like almost like it's literally like killing you from
Bones
inside.
are your foundation.
Yeah.
So you start getting envious, you're messing with your foundation. And you're in bad shape.
Yeah.
I just had a visual of like, you probably see it on cartoons or television where someone like standing behind a door and like looking at the other person, like looking through that little peep and just like really being envious of a person. And, unfortunately, there are people that have friends, air quote, that are envious of them. And then they're so envious of them, they would, be disparaging or try to take their person and try to sabotage them in the guise of just being so envious, like not feeling like they deserve or they should have that, which is so egotistical, so disgustingly, so not filled with the Holy Spirit. But unfortunately, I feel like it's, thanks to social media exposing us to a lot of stuff, I feel like it's more common than not. What do you all think about that? Have you all ever
I've seen many
experienced that?
TikTok stories on it,
yeah.
story times.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I've experienced it before, and not to get into details, but yeah, like it on the side of the receiver, it's obviously heart-wrenching because you think someone is your friend, you think someone has your back, and like you realize the whole time, like, or maybe not the whole time, but the way that you feel is like, man, like, were you always
Right.
looking at what I had, like, and you wanted that? Like, were you plotting the whole time? It really, for me, it really took a turn. Took a lot for me to, like, actually I realized I had forgiven, but I'm still working on, I've been reading the book The Bait of Satan, which is a book
Yeah, me
like on
too.
further like really deep
It's really good.
forgiveness, like, because I don't even remember who
I
it's
confirm.
by.
'Cause
Okay,
I'm actually listening to it
it's-
on Audible.
Yeah, okay,
Say less.
yeah, but it's
I've
a good
credible.
book. But yeah, it's really difficult. And one of the, actually, while on this healing journey, I would ask, like, how do you look out for that? Like, how do you look out for someone who is, because I think one of the things that, okay, here's an example. And I can use this example because, like, I'm not living it. So what if you're somebody who is longing for a child, but then you're in a friend group where like people are having children. And so it's like, it's envy, because it's like, man, I want that. But you're not jealous where it's like, I should have that. They don't even deserve to be a mom. But how do you navigate that? Because in a way, it's not necessarily sin to want that, but then it's like, how do I keep it from turning into envy or turning into jealousy?
So I think that's a really good question. While we've been talking, I've also been thinking about comparison, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I think with envy, with what you were saying, because even if you don't think it's like something I should have, even if it's just a longing, like Devin was saying, if you get stuck on that, like say every time you see that friend and they have something that you desire, it's going to deteriorate some part of your friendship, interaction. Like now you find yourself, you can't even be happy for that person. You can't celebrate them when you're around them. I'm just like speaking of some potential, what's the word I'm looking for? Not results, but some potential, examples, but like what it could turn into or what have you. Because of that desire, like you don't, it's misplaced. It's a misplaced desire. And so now it's negatively even if it's internal, impacting like your interactions with that person. And so where I was going with comparison, I was thinking about how like, and I was taught a long time ago, like be mindful of comparison because I can't remember the exact saying.
Thief of joy.
Yes. And the reason is because once you start comparing yourself to others, I feel like that can bring about envy because you're comparing maybe your lack of or whatever it is that the other person has or something that you desire that you have or don't have. It was that observation was brought on about by comparing. And now that you've compared, you potentially are opening yourself up to envy. And now you're in trouble.
Right.
So you'll have a different issue. So, but to answer your question, like that's what I think can happen, you know, and because you're just always focusing on that, now you're not even enjoying whatever that friendship or connection initially brought because you're always focusing on what you're envious of.
Yeah, that's so good.
I kind of feel like envy is a little bit kind of like wrath in that, like if you, I made an analogy back when we were talking about wrath, how like anger is like kind of like a fire, right? A good servant but a bad master. Envy can kind of be a similar type of thing because there's a healthy ambition that we are created with, right? So if you see something that somebody's got going on, that might spark you to be like, oh, I want that too. I'm actually going to be intentional about this thing, right? I'll give an example. Like one of my cohort mates from my boot camp that I did, he landed this internship. He landed an apprenticeship with Verizon that I wasn't eligible for because it's eligible for people who have not done a bachelor's and I've done way too much school to be eligible for that. But he landed it and I was so happy for him. And I was just so longing for it at the same time. It was like, I just wish. I wish. But when in that way, it will kind of give you a kickstart to do some of the things that you know you can do, right? But then when it goes unchecked, then you start feeling like really kind of down, right? I think I remember my first real brush with that feeling. So it's almost like I could taste what that's like. I don't really have very many envious moments in life, really.
Because you're Devin.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just call it what it is.
No, but I remember when I went to Oakwood University, and that's where I say I learned how to sing, right? And I was getting better and better, and I was in the choir, and there were some solos that I wanted to do because I was like getting better and stuff. And like there was a solo that, you know, was assigned to me, but sometimes wouldn't be me, it would be somebody else, right? And not that I was envious of that person, but there was I wanted to sing the solo at this kind of like more high profile thing, right? I wanted to. But then we were doing another song, and I just felt that sinking pit in my stomach that like I didn't. So it was almost like it was not kind of like a benchmark for me. Like I wanted to be able to know for myself that I've reached this level. So that my director at this illustrious school of music that, you know, will trust me to do this on this stage, and that didn't happen. Not that I guess I wasn't envious of the person that did the song so much, but just disappointed that I couldn't do what I was hoping to be able to do at that moment. So that's my story, and I remember what that feels like. And God showed me. He was like, "Pay attention to that. Remember this." You know. Yeah.
I think the other side of envy is sometimes it's not. Once you get it, it's not all that it's cracked up to be. I say that because I have a cousin, and she went to because we all were in the marching band in my family, and so she went to this band camp in Tallahassee. You know, I'm not gonna mention the school because that's not important. But she went to this band camp one summer. She's 4 years older than us. I was like, man, I can't wait to go to band camp, and you know, it's so much fun, and you just learn meet these people and have these experiences. And then when I got to go to like my high school band camp, it was like, oh man, I can't wait till this is over. It's hot outside. I'm hungry. It's long days. You holding that instrument. You dance, you play, you marching, and it's just like I got what she had, but when it came, it was like, this is it. This is it. So I think we have to be very mindful, like, you know, not to be envious. You know, we hear some hackneyed and cliche terms like grass isn't green on the other side. It's greener where you water it and whatnot. And so it's like, you know, we never know what someone has to go through, and we're so envious of Devin, Annie, Jasmine, Zav. And it's just like, you never know what people's, struggles are or what it takes to show up as them. Or, I was telling Jasmine recently, sometimes, you look at people like, dang, they've done this, they've accomplished this, but they also have had a incredibly traumatic life.
Right.
Thank God that I haven't, by God's grace, or that you or whomever hasn't had the level of trauma that this person. So it's like, you know what, sis, bro, like, kudos for you for accomplishing these great things because you have had a rough upbringing. So,
Yeah, it's impossible to count the cost of what somebody else did to get what they have.
Yeah.
Right.
Because all you see is the outside. Maybe you see social media. Yeah, but behind so many CEOs of multi-million-dollar companies is 3 divorces and fractured families. You know, I know where I want my family to financially be. But I know where I want us to be in relationally. Like, I'm not willing to sacrifice the health of my family on the altar of money.
get into the bag.
Right.
Yeah. And money is not even real. Like, let's be real. Let's be
Right,
real.
money is so fake.
Right.
Yeah. Like, anyway.
It's important,
Yes.
but it's
But-
like fake, though. It's like
Yeah.
literally paper.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say these bills are real, but
But Jesus paid it all. Jesus paid it all.
Hallelujah.
Do you
Hallelujah.
think we have time to kind of touch on, you all mentioned Cain and Abel?
Oh,
yeah.
Yes. Yes. That, so, the first, wait, okay. First sin was pride. In my opinion, first sin was pride with Lucifer in heaven, right? Second one, envy. Third one, murder.
arguably a
Arguably.
sloth with Adam.
Slot, yes. With Adam? Wait.
Like that he was like idly there next to Eve, but like he didn't say anything. It was like a bit of
because-
sloth because he's the head of household.
A little bit. Okay, so he basically, let Eve eat herself literally to death.
Yeah, and took a bite as well.
Jeez.
He said, "Why not? I'm here."
Wow.
Or is it covetousness? Covetous. I like that word. Covetousness. Cause like
yes.
Yeah,
you
more so
want
covetous-
to
yeah.
you want to have
It
what
was
God has.
covetousness.
Does God,
So
did God
it's
really
a
say that you can't eat the fruit or whatever the case may be? I want to be like God or whatnot. I get it, but the crazy thing about sin is that it's all wrapped up in one. It's
Yeah.
it's pride, it's this, it's
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
All of the above. So
And that's where I can pull up the verse. I have to search it, but Bible says when you're guilty of breaking one commandment, you're guilty of them all. Because they all touch back to like one core sin, which is pride. Like in some way, shape, or form, you're either thinking your way is better than God's way, or you're trying to do something that God hasn't asked you to do. You're putting yourself above God by choosing to go outside of what He's called us to do.
Right.
So now, not to escape envy so much, but let's get back to the Cain and Abel part. Yeah, Cain was definitely envious of God's response to to Abel's offering, and that yielded the next sin of murder, right?
Yeah.
So, like, imagine being so tied up in what you think you deserve that you're willing to do anything to take that thing away from somebody else.
your brother, much less.
Yeah. And it's crazy because he had no frame of reference for what murder is. He had zero, like, what? He had zero
none.
point of reference. Like, when did he decide he's going to take something and hit his brother, like, to death?
Do you
Like,
think he meant
Right.
to kill?
well, it
But he
happened.
did.
I do think
Yeah.
he did because mind you, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm bringing law in, and where it's like you can claim self-defense, but then once you do anything to hide, to prevent like the truth from coming forward, like they say you can claim self-defense if you kill someone and you just sit butt naked. You just sit butt naked on your porch and you just wait for the police to come, and then it's like self-defense, like I lost my mind, whatever. The moment you put your clothes on, you go to work, you act like nothing happened,
Right.
you cannot claim self-defense anymore. So the fact that even if he didn't mean to, the fact that he said, God said, "Where's your brother?" He's like, where is he? He can't claim, he cannot claim, he can no longer claim that because even if he didn't mean to, he knew enough to hide his sin after the fact. So
Wow.
can't claim that.
part. And I was gonna say, could we say like Jacob and Esau? What he tricking his brother because he felt
Lord.
I guess you could say he envied the favor that he had of his
his
brother
brother
had
had.
of his dad.
And the birthright, like, because I think okay, so Jacob was his mom's favorite, right?
Oh, right.
But then he was, I guess, he had
Right,
the ear
his
of his
mom's
mom,
favorite.
and he ended up kind of taking a conniving approach to tricking his brother, who I guess he wasn't serious enough about his birthright. He kind of just gave it away because he was hungry.
For some lentils. Lentils do be good.
That's crazy.
Right.
But they're not good enough to lose the birthright. Bruh. But I mean, I feel like
He
that's
was
a...
hungry.
Unless Zob's cooking it. Then
Listen, I got y'all.
Or those lentils we had yesterday.
Listen.
Listen.
Oh yeah, they were
But I mean, this is another topic for another day. But that's like, as parents or people who work with children, you cannot create an atmosphere or an environment where your children, Annie as a nanny, you know this, like your children even feel some type of way, like, because I understand both cases, like with Jacob, Esau, because I have siblings, right?
Right.
And so I mean, again, that's another topic for another day. But we have to create environments where children aren't envious of their sibling. Oh, your brother is so smart, or you're this, that, and the third. It's like, nah, don't do that.
I think that goes back to what Jasmine said about comparison.
Yeah.
Like, that's one that comes in because you spent, and I'm guessing from that story, like, they probably spent their whole lives being compared to one another, that, like, of course he's like, I do want that birthright, because, like, it's like they always compared each other. And that might have been the same thing for Cain and Abel. Like, maybe Cain didn't, obviously it wasn't like, God knows better than human parents. So he probably wasn't pitting them against each other, but being like, look what, Abel is bringing to me. Like, why don't you love me enough to bring that? But the way that Cain, like, perceived that was like, oh, like, he just needs to not bring you anything at all, instead of, like, reflecting.
Let me do that.
Yeah. So it's like, comparison is the thief of joy. 'Cause-
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't really have enough time to dive into Joseph and his brothers.
I was thinking that too.
Yeah.
That's one of my
Lord.
favorite stories.
Yeah, man, we'd be here all day talking about the different stories and examples of envy in the Bible. But how do we block out the negative effects of envy from our day-to-day relationships with our partners and wives, husbands? Like, how do we?
One, I think it's important to celebrate others, but in order to do that, you have to see the value in yourself, and in that, knowing who you are, which is, creating the image of God. So when we keep that in perspective, we can appreciate, like, wow, God created me this way, X, Y, Z. God created my neighbor this and that way, and I'm excited for them. I'm grateful for them, etc. So it is an active effort, but I think it really requires you to strengthen your relationship with Christ, because having that one-on-one time through prayer, through meditation, spending time, your reflection grows stronger and deeper, and you're able to, I think, do a better job at keeping things in perspective. It doesn't mean you may not fall short in some areas, but I think that you'll do better to, when you do bump your knee, you'll know, like, how to redirect yourself.
All I got for you is the sun, especially with your partner. The sun and the moon shine. They both shine at different times. So allow your partner your spouse, your boo thing to shine in the way that God has purposed them to shine.
Yeah, and my last, you have something?
No, I'm good.
My last thing is selflessness really kind of reverses a lot of these different deadly sins, like creating the space for your partner to be who they gotta be, who God called them to be.
That's good.
So as we continue this journey of life, release the bondage of envy. Don't let it rot your bones. Don't let it ruin your life. So just walk this journey with us, and just like you will, we'll also heal responsibly. And make sure you come back and tune in again next time. Have a good one.
Peace.